Welcome back to the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast, where we go book by book and delve into the stories and the history of this beloved saga. I'm your host, Jonathan Howard, and with me is my friend, Shivam Bhatt.
Hello, my friends. Today we are wrapping up book one of book one. As John was telling me off camera here, the books themselves correspond roughly to the way the original modules were set up. So the original modules, the first three of them, took place over the course of what would become Autumn Twilight, i.e. going from starting in the inn and then going all the way through Pax Tharkus. And the first module, DL1 Dragons of Despair, ends in Xak Tsaroth, fighting against the big black dragon, doing all the things that we got going on here. And so module 2 is basically going from Xak Tsaroth into heading towards Pax Tharkus, which is in Dragons of Flame. And then Dragons of Hope, which is DL3, they go through to Thorbarden and do the stuff that involves getting the king is crowned and things. I guess that's where it kind of breaks apart, because DL1 maps up almost perfectly to the way the intro of this book goes, leading to the end of Kisanth and, the Return of the Gods and whatever. But one of the things that was a big glaring hole in Chronicles is that we never did get DL3, the exploration of Thorbarden, in the novels until almost 25 years later, when Margaret and Tracy went back and wrote Dragons of Dwarven Depths to fill in what exactly happened when the heroes went down between Autumn Twilight and Winter Night. But we will get to that a way long time from now. For now, though, we're going into wrapping up what is going on here in Chapter 22 of Part 1, Boo Boo's Gift, An Ominous Sight.
So we left the companions on the lift. It was reaching the top. They had just dealt with the last two draconians they were facing, where Raistlin, he bluffed them.
Yeah, basically. He rolled his bluff check and kind of threw his hand up and did some wiggly wobblies, and they're like, oh no, it's a magic user.
As soon as they get to the top, cinematic scene, the mechanism that controls the lift falls apart and it crashes back down into the hole. There's earthquakes going on, and Tanis is like, everyone, we have to hurry back to the Temple of Mishakal. If any place is going to be safe, it's going to be like this consecrated holy ground.
Yeah, and it is funny, though, because this is definitely such a D&D trope. You kill the big bad, and suddenly the whole we call them load-bearing bosses. As in, you see this in video games, too. It's like, we killed the boss, and now everything is falling apart. Kid of the 80s might remember this as, mother brain syndrome, right? You blow up the brain, and suddenly you got 2 minutes to run out before the whole place falls apart.
It's not just from video games, because it's also, I think, from pulp adventure stories, right?
Oh, yeah.
Indiana Jones, when he pulls the golden idol from the first one, then the big stone comes, it's rolling, and it destroys the whole temple. He can't get back into it. And the same thing happens in Temple of Doom, when he stakes the sacred stones. There's all that lava. And
in half a dozen Gary Gygax Greyhawk modules. And
yeah, so
I mean, this is a trope's trope right there, right? We killed Onyx, and now it's time for us to bail because the place is going to fall apart.
So they're at the top, and Riverwind is not moving. He says he's going to be left behind. He doesn't want to do this. And there's this interesting discussion between Sturm and Tanis on what's right here. Because Sturm, in Solamic, apparently suicide's cool. If you decide you want to kill yourself, then that's an honorable thing to do. For Tanis, raised as an elf, he's like, that's abhorrent. Life is the most precious thing.
Mm-hmm.
So even if your life sucks, you don't get to kill yourself. So they kind of have a fight, and Tanis puts Sturm in place. He's like, you're not the leader, so check it. Get out of here.
Yeah.
And then he basically goads Riverwind. He's like, what, are you a sissy? You're going to let your...
I love this, though. He's like...
everything she fought for and died, and you're just going to give up now?
Dude, yeah, I love the way they describe this, too. It's like, Tanis and Sturm, they look at each other, and Knight shrugs, and Tanis like, you go to hell, buddy. And then this is what they wrote. The half-elf took hold of the plainsman's long, dark hair and jerked his head back, so the startled man was forced to look into Tanis' eyes. Go ahead, lie down and die, Tanis said through clenched teeth. I love that. Tanis is just like, all right, buddy, you want to die? Go ahead. Stop being a weenie. Go ahead and die. Cry some more. I don't have time for this.
Well, yeah, she's like, at least your chieftain had the guts to fight.
Yeah.
At least she went down swinging and you're just going to roll over.
And of course, Riverwind is just like, I'm going to kill you. And Tan's like, I don't care as long as you keep moving. Obviously, at this point, the place is listing and tilting because remember, Xak Tsaroth is on a cliffside, and down at the bottom, a whole mess of water just showed up and started filling in the place. And suddenly, all of this place is being very destabilized. So Sturm and Tanis kind of grab each other and start working their way back up to the temple. They run into Tasselhoff, who says, yeah, everybody's upstairs but me. I waited here for you. And then Tanis like, all right, shut up. Put me down, Sturm. We got to go. Let's go. And so Sturm grabs Tasselhoff, drags him upstairs. Tanis is taking a moment to rest, because he's been running and huffing and puffing in the dragon fight and everything. And he's sitting there and he looks down, and suddenly the remainder of the floor in the Hall of Ancestors collapses with a loud snapping noise. The temple shakes and trembles, and Tanis turns around and he hears a low thundering rumble, and it's Musi had claimed Xak Tsaroth. The city that was dead was now buried. Boom. GG's. RTF, like GTFO. Game over. Xak Tsaroth served its purpose.
No one can ever explore it again.
I mean, it's a great dungeon, though.
They're in the temple. Tanis is checking in with the party, and he noticed Riverwind isn't there. He just has this little panic attack because he just got through saving this guy. And so he's looking around. Sturm tries to stop him. Then Flint tries to stop him. And then he hears Riverwind's cries. And Tanis pushes through, and he enters the chamber of Mishakal. And he feels at peace. But that only makes him madder. He's like, this is not a time for me to feel good because I just watched someone die and people are pained. Then he curses the gods, and he asks what they call for human sacrifice. They're powerful, but they're not good, is what he's claiming, right?
Yeah.
If you ask your people to do this, then that just means you're powerful. And he says, if you're not going to help us, then leave us alone.
It is such a very, very, like, almost encyclopedic standard skeptics like rage. You guys aren't doing anything for me. You're not helping at all. You're useless sacks. You're like the same gods who brought the cataclysm down. All right, fine. Leave us alone. We don't need you. And he's just like, this horrible.
This is Job, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's probably Hindu scripture that has the same thing. Like, why do the gods let us suffer?
This is totally the standard faithed out thing.
Yeah.
Every hero, it's almost tropish. Oh, yeah, the hero has to rage against the heavens before sitting down and understanding, like, no, it's okay. Everything's fine. I just needed to get this out of my system. And Flint, of course, is like looking at him like, look, man, if your elven head can't understand, then listen to your human heart for once, right? Like, totally leaning on this half-elven nature of Tanis, which is his big guiding kind of crisis. This competition between, like, being an immortal scion of good and then, like, this just emotional, very much like, it's like Spock and Kirk in one body kind of thing.
The emotional mess that is a human.
Oh, yeah. It's just like, great, you have all of the neuroses and depression that we've got, but you live longer. So Tanis, of course, sits there and he grabs his sword and he's about to go. He sees Riverwind over there right by the statue. And he's like, uh-oh, Riverwind's going to probably try to kill himself. So he goes, turns around the statue, and then stops. And he refuses to believe his own sight because he thinks maybe his mind's playing tricks on him. He looks at the statue's face and calms down, looks down again, and lo, there is Goldmoon, sound asleep, hanging out, just chill. Her hair's loose around her body in the gentle wind. There's a fragrance of spring in the air. Wait, what's this? When we were here last, the statue was just kind of standing there with its hands open and empty, but now the Staff of Mishakal is part of the statue of Mishakal. The MacGuffin has gone back home, but Goldmoon has around her throat the necklace that once adorned the statue.
Well, in last chapter, it seemed like the staff shattered when she whacked Onyx with it, but apparently not. It just served its purpose.
Yeah, like, it shattered, but do you think the Mishakal is going to just let her statue kind of fry? No, it shattered because it was like, you don't get to use this anymore. I'm going to take it back.
She doesn't need it now.
No, because now she's a real cleric.
As Goldmoon is about to explain.
Yeah, so Goldmoon, of course, she's like, I'm a true cleric now. I'm a disciple of Mishakal, and though I have much to learn, I have power of my faith. Above all else, I am a healer. I bring the gift of healing back to the land. So in D&D terms, the cleric character, who for the beginning of the book basically doesn't have any powers except what's in the staff, and the staff we know has charges and it recharges regularly. It can heal, it can resurrect, it can do all the things. Now, Gold Moon is like a level 5 cleric or something like that. She's got her lay on hands, her cure light wounds, all of the basic. She can do light on her like medallion. And we should spend a second and talk about that. This medallion here, this medallion of true faith, is a very iconic idea of D&D clerics and of healers going all the way back to ancient European folklore, where the idea of like, you hold up the cross and the vampire turns away, or you hold up your like, you read all the old folkloric stories of like the ancient priests and monks and stuff would have their crucifixes on chains or have their, the symbol of their gods on chains or whatever. And they would hold it up to ward away evil, which is, of course, one of the iconic things a cleric can do. You can turn zombies, turn the undead, which means not take them onto your side, but make them go away, repel them, right? So Gold Moon has this magical amulet of her goddess, which is described as being like 2 teardrops kind of end to end. Those of us who know is the infinity symbol. Originally, when I first saw this in like 1989 or whatever, when I first read these books, I thought that it was a figure 8 almost. It was just 2 dots, like the 2 teardrops tip to tip, vertically oriented. Later on, I realized like they showed it and it's like, a circle with an infinity scribed on it. But I prefer the idea of it being a figure 8. It just seems to fit better in my mind. But yeah, so she is the first official real cleric to show up for the gods of good on Ansalon in this modern post-cataclysm era. And I specify Ansalon because of the fact that in Talatis, Mishkal was like appalled that all these poor innocents who had nothing to do with the king priest were being punished for the sins of humanity on the other side of the world. And so she created the secret cult of Mislaxa and had her clerics running around from like 30 AC forward, but they were still hidden and working as sort of a pseudo mystery cult and not really in the open. But Gold Moon here, she's got the discs, she had the staff, she's got the medallion. She is now a cleric.
And it's funny because she's like, I'm a cleric. And then Flint grumbles. He's like, well, we might have a cleric, but so does the other side. And from all indications, he's pretty strong.
Yeah, and it's like, great, we found these gods, but they got there first.
He's like, what are these discs going to do against a bunch of dragons?
Are we supposed to hold it up and like pray?
If you guys read these, I think you'll see that you're wrong.
To be fair, like you can see Margaret sitting there going like, all right, Tracy, you got these discs, but they have dragons. So what are you going to do about it? And Gold Moon, of course, is like, look, man, I'm not a warrior. I'm not a fighter. I'm a healer. My job is to heal people. And this is where it gets very interesting and very Mormon. Like Gold Moon responds, she's like, look, I'm a healer. And this I thought was BS, this line here. I do not have the power to unite the people of our world to fight this evil and restore the balance. My duty is to find that person who has the strength and the wisdom for this task, and I'm to give them the discs of Mishkal. So basically, she's not Jesus here. She is John the Baptist. Her job is to go and find whoever this new prophet is going to be that's going to bring the gods. And I'm like, that's not, you have the god's power. You're literally that person. Why do you need someone else? And of course, later on, Dragonlance, proved me right when Gold Moon becomes like the most important character in the Fifth Age, the creator of mysticism. And
does this guy ever show up again?
Elistan?
Yeah, he gets sidelined pretty early, doesn't he, in the stories?
So here's the thing. Elistan, the High Cleric of Paladine, he shows up in this book and then he shows up in the next book. And he preaches a bit and builds his church in the background or whatever. The secret here is that Margaret Weiss hates Elistan. Margaret Weiss has always hated Elistan. This is not like me just conjecturing. This is years and years of dialogue with her. She openly hates this character. She finds him super boring and just stuffy and old and just like there's nothing interesting there. There's nothing cool to do. So she just kind of
writes around him.
Tracy really, really wanted to have his Joseph Smith, so she let him. But she also just said he is over there doing his own thing somewhere else. On the other side of the world, nobody cares.
It always seemed weird to me where it was like, we got the plates, now we have to give them to someone.
Yes.
Knowing the background, because like Joseph Smith found, I'm putting in air quotes, found the plates himself. And then he translated himself. And then he went out and like gathered a bunch of people to follow him. And then he created a militia, right? Like if Tracy wanted to make a character like Joseph Smith, like it should have been Goldmoon. Goldmoon should have just done all those things, just like Joseph Smith did. Like,
Right, but though the vibe I get, though, you can speak to this more than I can, but wasn't the whole thing of the Mormons that, like, the Native Americans found the word of God first, or were the tribe of Israel or something, and then brought it to the Mormons? Or the Angel Moroni or something?
yeah, but like there's like a 700-year difference there, right?
Mm.
That's all the good Nephites died like at 600 when did they die? Like 400 AD is when all of them died off, and then after that it was all Lamanites. And so really, if you're saying we need someone to it seems like Tracy wanted to make Anselm Jesus, and it's like, but Joseph Smith was never Jesus. Like Joseph Smith was the commander of like the largest private army west of the Mississippi, like,
which is wild.
There was a reason that his neighbors didn't like him, because when Mormons showed up, like they took over. Every Mormon in the country showed up and they took over. And Joseph Smith was not a turn the other cheek kind of guy. This is a guy who had a newsprint destroyed because it said stuff about him. This is a guy who controlled the largest militia. Like, this is a guy who died in a gunfight. Like, that's how he died, in a gunfight.
It's wild to think about. Yeah, but here's the thing, though. I think that they were trying to go for kind of an amalgamation of this idea here of Jesus, of the Native Americans, of Joseph Smith, of like the scripture on tablets of the platinum discs is such a 1-to-1 correlation.
It's absolutely, which is why this part always threw me off, because like it kind of gets lost where Tracy wants to create, or whoever, they want to create a Jesus-like figure. When you read the Book of Mormon, even the Jesus-like figure in the Book of Mormon is more, hey, let's fight. Like, and all Nephi, Moroni, King Jeremiah, all of them in the Book of Mormon, all the prophets are not just like, I'm going to write and tell you to be good. They're like, I'm going to write and tell you to be good, and then I have a sword in my hand and I'm going to kick your ass to tell you to be good. Like, it's very much very action oriented, which is, it's so funny because it's so Brigham Young again. Like, there's a guy who took a bunch of people across the West and then settled and then set up private armies and had a team of assassins and like controlled Utah. He absolutely run it. And then now, like, they're all milquetoast.
Yeah, they're old
men in Utah running some gross business when like the founders of the church were rough and ready. And
yeah, they were cowboys, man.
Rowdy. Yeah, they were cowboys. Joseph Smith like leg wrestled and wrestled. Brigham Young was a big man who fought people, and he surrounded himself with like a bunch of goons.
Well, because like Joseph Smith said in the Council of 50 in Nauvoo, if the Lamanites won't hearken to our counsel, they shall be oppressed and killed until they will do it. And the Lamanites, of course, are supposed to be the natives. And then, like, the original counselor, Orson Spencer, was like, the gospel to the Native Americans, like, look, man, y'all have been killed and scattered in consequence of the rejecting the everlasting priesthood. And if you come back, that'll be great. And we'll be happy to both of you. And of course, the Native Americans are like, no, thank you. We're good. But the thing is, though, this was definitely meant to be at least symbolically representative of that covenant, of the way like Tracy really would have liked it to go, which is like, look, the Roman Catholic king priest loses track of the gods. The word of the gods has been left out there. I mean, it was never gone. It was just lost, and we turned away from the gods.
And it is certainly symbolic. You're right.
Yeah. And then it took
Goldmoon is
an indigenous person find it,
and she's giving it to like the Joseph Smith character. They're just like compressing the timeline. So like an actual Native American is giving it to this person.
Exactly. They're compressing it. They're
instead of just having this person do the work, which is how Joseph did it. Like, he dug up and found it and he translated it.
Exactly that.
He went into action and did a bunch of stuff.
And it makes for a better story because Goldmoon's also a far cooler character than Elliston is.
Yeah. You could have saved themselves a lot of time by just turning Goldmoon into the Joseph Smith character.
Right. But the thing is, she was also a cleric of Mishakal, not of Paladine. And they're like, look, Paladine's the god of good. We need to have his representative here, not just his wife. And I'm like, that's sexist. But Mishakal does way more than Paladine does. But that's not true because Fizban's all over the place. But anyway, so Goldmoon does her piece. The companions are silent for long moments. Suddenly, Raistlin's like, bro, we gotta go. Listen. Because they could hear the braying of many, many horns carried on the north wind. And Tannis like, oh, it's war now. The game is on.
This is that army leaving, right? This is the army that captured them earlier up in the swamps. This is them marching out, right?
Yep. The game is now afoot. And so the companions fled Xak Tsaroth into the Twilight, and they're starting to head west, and Margaret and Tracy compress kind of the travel here. And basically what happens is these guys are like, okay, what do? We got to go back to Solus, get our stuff, figure out our information and see what to do about finding a leader. And of course, they were like, yeah, Haven, that's where all the religious people are. We can totally just go there. And then Tan's like, well, we should probably go to the elves because they're safer and good and things. But in the meantime, these two leave, the silver moon and red moon rise, and then suddenly, the gray hour before dawn, he hears something, and
Raistlin hears something.
Yeah, Raistlin hears something, and he's like, is that someone crying? Is it Gold Moon? What the hell? What's going on? But then, out of nowhere, he sees Bupu over there, crying and blubbering into a blanket. And Raistlin glances. Flint is standing watch on the far of the direction, but they're all alone, so he knows that nobody's going to see him being a nice guy. He goes over to Bupu and is like, what is it? And this is one of the most poignant scenes in the series, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful. Bupu's like, look, I don't want to leave you. I want to go with you, but I miss my people. I miss the clan that I'm literally the queen of, let's be honest. And she's sobbing, and Raistlin's like looking at him, and this is one of the most like heartbreaking parts of the story. It's like a look of infinite tenderness touched Raistlin's face, a look no one in his world would ever see, because Raistlin is not going to be tender or nice or kind to a goddamn person, except for the most miserable and lonely object of ridicule in the world, the gully dwarf Bupu, who has been his only friend, the only person who doesn't care about him for his power or his wealth or his strength or whatever. She's just here because, well, he cast a charm spell on her, but that didn't work on Bupu. She just likes him for him. And he's like, look, you saved my life. You saved the lives of people I care about, but I'm going on roads that are going to like be dark and messy, and I can't ask you to come with me. You got to go home. And she's like, but you'll be unhappy if I leave. And he's like, no, I'm going to be happy knowing that you're safe and not hanging out with me. And that's like the kindest thing he said to anybody, which is like, you need to leave, because if you come and die, I will never be able to, I would like tear the world apart. And then of course, Boo was like, all right, if you're sure about it. And he's like, I'm sure. She's like, all right, but before I go, let me give you a gift. And Ray's like, I'm good.
I don't need a lizard tied on a string. Thank you very much.
I don't need any lizards. Like, I appreciate it. Save that for your family. But then she pulls out a book with night blue leather binding and silver runes. And it's like,
oh, where have we heard of that before?
Oh, shit. The spellbook of Fisty? Uh-oh. And she's like, you like it? And he's like, where the hell did you get it? And she's like, I took it from the dragon. And when you guys are swinging that stick around, you had nothing to do. So I got it. Now I'm going to go find Fudge. But you sure you don't want that lizard? And she's like, all right, then. Well, and then she looks, grabs his hand, kisses his hand, and leaves.
Right before she leaves, it says Raistlin blesses her and references a great one and asks that Bupu be safe and happy through her life. And then she runs off. Who is this great one? Paladine? Is this some other? Is this the secret god of gods? Like the one true god? Like,
this is one of the things Margaret has always said, that Raistlin here channels, well, the great one he's talking about is Fistendantalus. That's what he was. He was the great one. He was a great magic user. But he's not praying to Fisty for power, because obviously that's a bargain he's made. But he's like, look, if I've got any power here, let me give this to her. And as far as Margaret's concerned, Raistlin's blessing was a true one and kept Bupu safe and alive for her whole natural life. Because this is like the one pure good action he does. And Paladine, who has taken a very close interest in what Raistlin is doing, heard him and was like, all right, let's go. You want to protect this one? I will make sure she is protected. Now, obviously, this isn't in the book. This is all extra textual stuff that Margaret has told me and other people over time. But she fundamentally believes that this, she said to, I think, even at Gen Con this past year when we were at the panel, she was like, look, I believe that Raistlin truly blessed and protected Bupu, cast a spell or did something, channeled some power to keep her alive, because he won't waste it on his brother, but he'll waste it on the one person he's ever cared about. And I'm like, that is maybe the most touching thing there is to know about this.
But also really sad.
I don't care about you all. Oh, it's deeply sad.
He could be so much happier if he just was honest with himself and the people around him.
Like, I mean, how short would the Chronicles be if Raistlin and Garamond just talked? Right? But the whole thing, though, is that Race is like, look, I care about the downtrodden. I care about the bullied. I care about the beaten. This is one of the things that has always made Raistlin such a powerful character, especially to young people who are reading these books, who are looking for any kind of comfort or solace or
Who were awkward nerds who got beat up.
yeah, like exactly. Here's the nerd who gets beat up all the time, who gets hated and bullied and all, who's been cursed to look nasty and ugly. And he's got compassion in him, but only for somebody else who is like him, who's also been just torn apart. That's the sort of thing that we've all been like, yeah, man, those jerks are going to get theirs, but like we will always protect the ones who are less than us. And like, it's not a great lesson, but it's still an important one nonetheless, that even the most self-centered dude can have compassion. I don't know. I've always liked this, though.
This is foreshadowing because we see how his desire to do this kind of is corrupted and becomes evil. I mean, this is the same thing that after the prequels, this is the same thing that Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, was trying to do, right? I will always protect people.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, well, but in order to protect all those people, what do you have to do, right? Eventually, you just destroy everything. And now, good job, you protected them. No one can hurt them because no one's alive.
It is exactly that kind of foreshadowing, especially if you know these books, because Raistlin's still a red robe right now, but he is definitely like starting down the path, right? Like he's got the spell book in his hand. He wants to read it and start learning, and nothing good is going to come from that book. But then, you know, he's sitting there and he's like shoved it into his pack because he's like, okay, I don't want to get questioned about this. He stands up and looks west to the sky. And he stiffens, drops his pack, and runs back and grabs Dennis. He's like, wake up. And they both look, they blink, and they look to the west. They can see the tall trees giving way to the grassy plains, and beyond the plains, snaking up into the sky. Tannis like, no, it can't be. And Raistlin's like, yes, Solus is burning.
Bum, bum, bum.
And that's where book one ends. What a way to go.
Yeah, it's a good ending.
Yeah, man.
We see tender moments from Raistlin. It lets us sit there for a beat, and then it just ramps it back up with the place where we were going, our plan. That place is our safe place. It's burning.
Everything is bad.
And then boom, hard cut, book 2.
Think about this book 1, though, before we like move onwards. This book 1 is such a good intro to this whole world, this whole story, this whole book thing here. Because in it, we start from this whole just this world that they've set up here. In just these short pages, we've gotten all the races, we've gotten the magic, we've gotten the clerics, we've gotten the good, the evil, the conflict. This small corner of the map over in Solus, there's a whole world that we've been told about. Like we know a place called Solamnia exists. We know that the elves exist.
There's a high tower of magic, and there's a haven.
Yeah, and it's just such a beautiful and perfect kind of like introductory chapter. Like, it's just like, all right, man, now the game is really getting started. We've gone through the prologue. We've gone through the tutorial. No more hand-holding.
And when I think about, I know this is a module. I've never looked at the module. I don't have the module. I'm sure Shivam does. But when I think about just like the beats, it's like, what a great little, I mean, not even little, but what a great series of adventures to go through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Boom, you meet in the tavern, the party's made, right? That's your first part. And then you go out of town and you're those mystery clerics. Boom, that's one part. And then, okay, now where do we do now? Oh, we have to go into this forest, right? They chase us into this forest and we think we meet ghosts. Oh, are we going to fight ghosts? No, boom. Then you meet the protector of the forest.
The forest master.
Yeah, then you're flown halfway across the continent to and then you have to run, and then you meet some of your characters. Their whole background is explored, and you realize that their whole families have been died. And then boom, you're in a swamp to get to this place, and you're captured by more. Yeah, man. Then there's a whole escape thing that you have to go through, and like I can just imagine like how many ways you could play that adventure.
Oh yeah.
You could have done it so many, like here in the book, it's like done in the most ridiculous way where Tasselhoff takes over a dragon and then has it give commands, but it could have gone so many ways. And then they go into the temple and they see a dragon and it sets them up, and then they go into a dungeon. It's just, what a fantastic D&D adventure. Like even today, you could just take this module and run it with people and it would be so exciting. They don't already know the Dragonlance story. It would still be exciting.
Look, man, there's a reason why every time they go back to Dragonlance, except for this most recent one, that they've always just gone back to the Chronicles and gone back to the original War of the Lands, because it really is one of the most perfect adventures ever written. Now, mind you, this adventure is the one that created the idea of a railroad, because the old adventures, the old D&D adventures, used to be like wide open kind of, you're in a place, go explore, figure it out, and make your own stories. And Tracy Hickman was the first to say, hey, what if we gave them an actual plot to follow and like gave them a direction to go in? Like you can go explore and stuff, but the story generally filtered you into this specific direction. But at the same time, it gives you this map. You start in Solus, you can go in every direction, but the clues will still kind of point you towards Xak Tsaroth in the end. And it's such a fantastically well written story. And the adventure is so cool. And then the battle it's wild when you think about the fact that the adventure itself is only 14 pages long. 14 pages, and they get this whole section of the book in.
Wow. But original D&D was like a simulation of like warriors on a battlefield, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how it started. It was very deep. This is where we see it become what it actually is today, right?
Yes.
People who play D&D 5th edition, it's a band of adventurers going to tell a story. Like this is where it happened first with Tracy Hickman. Tracy and his wife wrote this module, and then
I do need to pull back a step, because the thing is, Tracy and Laura Hickman were accomplished module writers before. They wrote this thing called Rahasya. They wrote this thing called Pharaoh something. And then they also wrote Ravenloft, one of the first real horror adventures. And through those three, they created these kind of narrative arcs. The way that when King's Quest 1 was one of the first like adventure stories to move from just we're exploring caves to we're telling a story. But Dragonlance was really the first one that was really fully fleshed out and developed. It's so cool and it's so well done that you could take this original module today and still run it right now and still be able to have like a very robust and exploring time of like the first half of the book of the module is like getting to Xak Tsaroth, and the next part is inside Xak Tsaroth and, running out of it to fight the dragon and leave.
It's just interesting to see, like, if you want to know where D&D today came from, like, it came from Dragonlance. It came from Tracy Hickman, who decided that
100%.
That this was a narrative game, not just a war simulation or a fighting simulation game.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because, think about it. The old minis games, they had stories, but they were not, particularly deep stories. They would get there.
And it was not the focus. The focus was like, oh, I'm going to put this armor on and it gives me 6d10 and then I'm going to run it up against...
Oh, yeah, no, it's all about getting loot and getting stuff. It's wild because, when you go... I don't know, I'm just, glancing through the module while we talk. And, one of the parts is you go into this bookstore or, Rolled Rotten Library thing. And the books on the thing, if the players want to explore and see what books are there, they see things like Human, the Lance of Dragons, Tales of the Greystone Wars, Chronicles of Kith Kanan, The Gods of Kryn. And it's like, wow, right there, you have all of these, hooks and stories of things that matter later on. And it's like, oh, what a cool way to do it. I'm always taken by how fascinating and how well written these modules were and how much they were able to do in such a tiny amount of space.
It's very good.
The whole module is 30 pages, and that includes pages for monsters and maps and things. It's wild. But here we are.
Book 2, Chapter 1, Night of the Dragons. The art here is really shocking.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I'm flipping back through my book to see if they show... If in the first chapter, when they show Solace in the first book, isn't it a picture of a...
In chapter 2, when they go to the Inn of the Last Home, they've got a picture of the inn in the Valenwood tree. And then when they start...
Chapter 2, it mirrors chapter 2 in book 1 is the inn, and then chapter 1 in book 2 is also the inn, and it's totally different. It's destroyed.
It's such a neat way to start, because they start book 2 almost the same way they start book 1, which is, Tika is sitting there washing the bar, but the picture there is the inn has been crushed, the tree has been toppled. She's just, compared to kind of the weird optimism she feels in the beginning of the book, this time she is much more just crushed and
I'll read it. It says, Tika wrung the rag out in the pail and watched, dully, as the water turned black. She threw the rag down on the bar and started to lift the bucket to carry it back to the kitchen to draw more water. Then she thought, why bother? Picking up the rag, she began to mop the tables again. When she thought Otik wasn't watching, she wiped her eyes. with her apron.
Yep.
Like it's a totally different feeling and a vibe, right? It was like, oh, we got to get ready. Everything's great. In the first,
Yeah, it's like, it's first one, it's like optimism and
we have a bunch of people coming. This is going to be great. And now it's like, why is the water turning black? And then we find out. Odic's like, don't cry. What's wrong? And she's like, it's this damn soot. It covers everything with black. And every day I scrub it up. And the next day it's back. They keep burning and burning. And it's like, well, what's burning and burning? Oh, the Valenwood trees, the trees that aren't supposed to burn.
Yeah, and then Odic's like, be thankful the end's in one piece. And she's like, be thankful? No. I wish it had burned like everything else in Solace, and then they wouldn't come in here. I wish it had burned. Oh crap, what the hell has gone on? And then, of course, the narrator takes over. The omniscient narrator of this book comes on and says, like, the attack on Solace had come without warning, even when the first pitiable refugees began to trickle into town from the north, telling stories of huge winged monsters. Hedrick, the High Theocrat, assured the people of Solace that they were safe, their town would be spared, and the people believed him because they wanted to believe him. That is Margaret's voice right there. Then came the Night of the Dragons. I love that sentence. Then came the Night of the Dragons. It's over. GG's. Right?
So Hedrick sold him out, right? That's true. Hedrick, because he says here, right, we are not like those reckless fools to the north who made the mistake of defying the might of the dragon high lords. Lord Verminard has personally assured the Council of High Seekers in Haven that he wants only peace. He seeks permission to move his armies through our town so that he may conquer the Elflands to the south, and I say more power to him. And then he goes on his racist rant against the elves, but like, why does Verminard even lie to him? Like, no one can stop him. There are no organized armies here. There is no... I don't even know why Verminard told the people in Haven. He could have just been like, I'm going to do whatever I want because you can't stop me. I have the army and you don't.
But the thing is, there's also that strategic notion of like, look, why should I waste my resources if these people will capitulate? Like, I could just walk through and...
I mean, yeah, but they capitulated and then he still burned the town down.
You know, like, it's funny. Hedrick they've been sitting there, they've been pretending to be clerics for these false gods of Haven or whatever. He's like, he's a true cleric. I've seen his miracles. It's going to be great. Because this guy is just a complete racist asshole, and we know this from the first.
We will drive the elves, dwarves, and other foreigners from our land, and it's like...
Because they take our jobs, and...
Then we'll build a wall.
Yeah, like, it's funny, though. Then came a dull roaring sound like the gathering of waters of a mighty ocean. Silence fell abruptly. Everyone listened, trying to figure out what's going on. Hedrick's, like, lost his audience, and now he's mad. And suddenly the roaring gets louder and louder, and it is plunged into thick darkness. Then it was no longer dark. What a sentence. Flames explode outside the inn, the heat of the wave, and the wave of the heat hits a building. The Valenwood tree gets just knocked. And this thing is like indestructible, right? But turns out when a huge elder red dragon is sitting there point blank just lighting you on fire, it's hard to... You're going to fail a saving throw eventually. And suddenly Solace is on fire. The kitchen's on fire. The inn's on fire. Get out, everybody, go. And Hedrick is like the first out the door. Surprise of the century.
Am I correct in that the red dragons are the biggest chromatic dragons?
Yeah. The red dragons are the big, bad chromatic dragons. They're the ones who breathe fire. They're Queen Takis's favorite. And this is one of those ones where me and Margaret were actually talking recently while we were working on the new book, that she was like, well, wait, why does Verminard have red dragons? If Verminard's the High Lord of the Red Dragon Army, what is Ariakas? And we were like, well, he's the Emperor of Ansalon. He doesn't need an army. He's got 5 of them, right? Like, he's got all 5 dragon armies. But he just prefers red, and when Verminard dies, somebody needs to take over, so he takes it. But yeah, so Hedrick is like stunned. He goes outside, and he's like, huh. There's hundreds of marching creatures. They've got leather wings and ground troops, and there's like, you know, thousands of them are coming in, and then there's the 5 red dragons in the sky taking turns lighting the place on fire.
Yeah, just breathing fire. And then she just talks about how that night Inn is still around, right? It hasn't been targeted, but basically it seems it wasn't targeted. So people are coming there after everything else in town is targeting, and Tika and Otik throughout the night have to basically take care of people, right?
Well, yeah. It's like a lot of those, like, you know, natural disasters where they end up going to the stadium after, like, Hurricane Katrina, for instance, or, you know, after a thing, you want to go to the place where all the people gather and try to find safety. And it's also just a smart political idea for Verminar to keep the bar around because it keeps people pacified and happy and also keeps his troops busy. But I love this image that they have of like Odic and the barmaids flinging buckets of ale on the flames until the fire goes out. Like you're putting fire out with beer? Okay.
And it just said the wounded kept on coming. And then finally Tika asks, like, what's happening? Why are these people coming here? He looks at her and he's like, this is the only building. Everything else was destroyed. She sees Hedrick and he's standing on the porch, staring over the flaming town. And he's like, there's been a mistake, he whimpered. There's been a mistake made somewhere. It's like the mistake was you bowing to evil.
It turns out when you capitulate to the bad guys, like when you invite Dracula into your house, he's coming and he's bringing his friends.
This is like the leopard ate your face. I didn't think the leopard was going to eat my face.
That's exactly what it is. This is Trey Jakeman and Margaret White teaching us a lesson here of like, look, if you capitulate to evil, this is what happens. You bring it to your door. And of course, that was a flashback. We're told this is a week ago. And the inn wasn't the only building left standing because the Draconians knew which buildings were essential to their needs and destroyed all of those that were not.
Probably because Hedrick told them.
Yeah, well, they're not stupid.
Yeah.
They know what's in a town, right? Like they left the general store. They leave Theros Ironfeld's blacksmith shop, which, of course, Theros Ironfeld, another of the characters who really ought to have had a much bigger role than he did. We will get to him later. And then I love the idea of like the blacksmiths had always been on the ground because, you know, the inadvisability of having a hot force located in a tree.
Oh, and this was interesting that they had to lower. That's why we see that the inn is wrecked on the ground is because it's like the others had to be lowered to the ground because the Draconians found it difficult to get into the trees. Those pesky wings.
Yeah, big giant wings and big tall curvy trees. And there's like, you know what? You guys have claws. Just pick the damn thing up and drop it. And the thing is, me and Margaret had a lengthy argument about this. She wanted to know, what is the floor of the Inn of the Last Home? And you would think, oh, it's wooden, right? Like it's a big wooden store. But in the stories, it's actually a big stone floor made of one piece that was carved by the man who built the inn and dragged it down from the local mountains himself into the thing. And she's like, the mountains are hella far away. I'm like, not in the map that you made. It's right here. The map is right here. The thing is made out of stone. The inn has a stone floor because
that's what you wrote.
It's impractical, and that's what's in there. The thing that always got me is like they were able to pick the inn up and drop it onto the ground. But the inn was built kind of around the tree. So
I mean, that's why it's still wrecked. That's why it's still trashed.
Yeah,
like it wasn't a gentle thing.
You gotta like yank it up like, you know, you're taking a shirt off of a kid or something. It's like, well, okay.
There's just a big hole in the center now.
The weird thing is, the inn had always had a lower part because they had a cellar for the ale to like, you know, ferment or whatever underground and like in the little spring over there. But now the trapdoor where they dump all the crap is literally just open the door to dirt. So there's nothing there. But they had to figure it out. And Tika's like, I'm never going to cry again. I haven't cried since that night. I'm like, okay, kid, whatever.
And she's mad because he's like, it's nearly opening time. She's like, how can you take their money? And he's like, because it's the only thing we can do. And he's like, and if we don't do it, it's the slave mines.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, slave mines for me, Otik, for me. And it's like, it's much worse for you. Like, you're a young woman. Like, what do you think's going to happen to you?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, this is not going to go well for us. She knew Otik was right. She risked more than being sent off to the slave mines that passed through towns. An angered Draconian killed swiftly and without mercy, let alone what else would happen to a young, beautiful barmaid. But then one of them pulls the close sign off the door and tosses it into the corner. You're open, the creature said. And Otik's like, well, here we go.
That's how chapter 1 of book 2 ends.
Yeah.
It set us up for some interesting times. I actually don't recall if the companions go through Solace, so this is all going to be a surprise to me.
Oh.
There are parts of the stories I remember, but I think they do, but we'll find out next time when we read chapter 2, The Stranger Captured.
Oh, yeah. Like, well, I'm not going to spoil anything, buddy, because we're in for a good time. The adventure is getting off to a real rollicking boil now. This book is feisty. We will see you next time. But in the meantime, You can find me on Twitter at ElectroTowel for as long as Elon Musk allows us. And you can find John at False Logic on Twitter as well. And let us know what you think of the podcast, how we've been doing so far. It's been great to hear feedback from all of you so far. The show has been picking up real nicely. And we have quite a long way to go because there's a whole lot of stories to go through. So until then, this has been Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast, and we will see you next time.
Stay safe. You've been listening to the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast. You can find us at dragonlancepodcast.com and on Twitter at dragonlancepod. If you enjoyed this show, please give us a positive review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Positive reviews help keep us visible, which really helps us find new listeners. Please share this show on your favorite social media site as well. Newer podcasts like ours can use the help. Thanks again for listening.